Does that sound great?
Yeah, and just let me go ahead and give everybody an overview. So we want to welcome everyone here. Thank y'all for joining us. You are in for a treat this morning. If you have not done so already, I'd ask that you go ahead and mute your microphone. That's going to help us keep the background noise to a minimum during the presentation. So if you're not speaking, just make sure you have your microphone muted. Any questions you might have, I would invite you to submit those through the chat feature. I'll be keeping an eye on those, and we will have some time reserved at the end. If you have any questions you've submitted, I'm happy to share those on to our presenter. And if not, you'll have an opportunity to ask those questions live. Thank you again. And just to give you a little bit of a preview of who we'll be hearing from, today we're going to be listening to Josephine Appleby, who is a learning engagement coach for the South Carolina Department of Education for the Office of Early Learning and Literacy. She lives in her hometown of Charleston, and she serves communities throughout the Lowcountry. Josephine received her bachelor's degree in early childhood education from Clemson University and her master's in technology integration from Lipscomb University. Josephine spent 7 years in Nashville, Tennessee, where she taught pre-kindergarten and kindergarten, and she served as the pre-K professional learning program director for Lipscomb University. She enjoys empowering families to better understand how young children learn and navigate the transition from home to school. She's grateful for the opportunity to serve students in her home state of South Carolina. And without further ado, I want to introduce and hand the floor over to you, Josephine.
Thank you so much. So I'm really excited to be here today to present our office's presentation called Ready, Set, Kindergarten, Supporting Families in Kindergarten Preparation and Beyond. This presentation will focus on the work of the learning engagement coaches of the South Carolina Department of Education, Office of Early Learning and Literacy. The learning engagement coaches work with families across the state on kindergarten readiness skills. So like our moderator mentioned, just write your questions in the Q&A or chat box, and I'll address them at the end. And there will be time for questions at the end. So again, a little bit of my background. I got my bachelor's from Clemson and my master's from Lipscomb University. I taught pre-K and kindergarten in extremely high need schools in Nashville, Tennessee. I always loved working with my families. I had really strong relationships with families. I taught during the pandemic, as you can see in this picture of one of my students and I. So I'm familiar with what teachers are experiencing and the aftermath of little ones growing up in the time of COVID. Our learning goal today is that participants will learn about our learning engagement coaches and the family workshops offered and additional resources for families. So if you're just joining this session, this is really designed to share with you how our office and how learning engagement coaches can support you. So the learning engagement coaches work supports is part of the South Carolina Return to Learn grant. The goal of the grant is to provide all South Carolina students with a high quality digital education ecosystem to support remote learning through digital resources. This work includes providing support, training, and assistance to families and districts with literacy and digital resources. So the learning engagement coaches, which I will keep calling LECs throughout this presentation, so LECs are learning engagement coaches, our work includes assisting families with literacy skill development, providing online educational resources, and improving communication between families, teachers, schools, and community partners. So there are 5 learning engagement coaches for families. This map shows you all of us. Each LEC supports a specific region of our state. You can kind of see your region's LEC, but at the end of our session today, there will be a link to an interest form, and we prefer that you use this to request any kind of communication from your LEC. You'll just fill out the form, and then your LEC will reach out to you. So another member of our learning engagement coach team is Paige Mitchell. Paige serves teachers across the state and supports them in using the instruction hub, which is also known as the LOR or Safari Montage. Paige works to help educators integrate technology using the tools provided by South Carolina. Paige is awesome. Hopefully many of you have had the opportunity to attend one or more of her PD sessions. And if you'd like to learn more about this, you can always reach out to Paige via email, which is on the screen. So currently, and this is going to be the bulk of our presentation today, currently all the LECs offer 2 styles of family engagement workshops. We're going to explore both of these workshops in depth, but it's really important that you know that all of these sessions are held regionally. They can be held in libraries, they can be held in community centers, they can be held in district-wide, or they can be held school-based. And additionally, we offer these sessions virtually and in person. Oops. So the first style of workshop we will explore today are the kindergarten readiness workshop. We'll get to the other ones and after we do this, but let's really deep dive into these. The kindergarten readiness workshops are designed for families with children's age 0 to 5. They're focused on our early learning domains, the South Carolina early learning standards. So they're really aligned to those early learning standards. So before we get into the details of these workshops, I want kind of to give a brief overview of the why behind these. So South Carolina developed a birth through 5 plan, and from birth through 5, a child's growth and development will set the course for a lifetime of health, learning, and well-being. So when children thrive, we all benefit from stronger families, a more capable workforce, safer communities, and greater economic prosperity. This plan is a roadmap for optimizing our state's early childhood system and moving towards a shared vision of success for every child. This plan was led by the South Carolina Early Childhood Advisory Council and developed with input from thousands of families and service providers. So this was a big plan. One of the guiding principles of this plan is that parents are a child's first and most important teachers. Parents, including all adult caregivers in parenting roles, need and want to connect with their infants and young children in positive ways that help children grow, thrive, and reach their full potential. We offer these sessions as a support for helping children grow and prepare for kindergarten. The South Carolina Profile of a Ready Kindergartner describes the physical, cognitive, social, emotional signs of school readiness. So the kindergarten readiness workshops are based directly on the SC early learning standards. And this Profile of a Ready Kindergartner is a parent-friendly version of these standards. You can easily find this online by just searching South Carolina Profile of a Ready Kindergartner on Google, and it will take you to the page. I had it pulled up earlier, but all my tech problems, I do not have it pulled up anymore. Now, this is available in English and in Spanish. So I think it's very helpful if you have families that may be interested, maybe you're a parent liaison at your school. I would highly recommend handing these out. The early learning standards have 6 key areas of growth and development that families will want to understand about their child. Each area is equally important and they're aligned to the learning domains of the early learning standards. So these areas are reflective of a typically developing child at the age of 5 years old or 60 months. It is important to remember that every child develops at a different rate, but you can see that these 6 areas of growth and development, approaches to play and learning. So on the early learning standards, it's called approaches to play and learning, but we want to make that more parent friendly. So we say the individual way each child learns. Now you can all read, so I'm going to let you see what these are. You will notice that these are our 5 currently. We have 5 kindergarten readiness workshop focused on 5 of the 6 domains. We just wanted to start out with 5 right now. The ABCs of literacy is focused on the literacy domain and so forth. So we have the ABCs of literacy, building blocks for mathematical thinking, exploring emotions, understanding cognitive connections, and the power of play. Each of these sessions can be offered standalone, or they can be offered as a sequence. Like this afternoon, I'm going to Walterboro, I believe, to lead the ABCs of literature. Or no, I'm doing exploring emotions this afternoon. So, you can do different, you choose your session that you would like. I'm going to show you what a snapshot of a kindergarten readiness session looks like. And the examples I'm showing today are from the ABCs of Literacy session that we offer. So we're going to begin by introducing the domain. In this case, the literacy domain. And we'll watch a video that explains the domain in a parent-friendly way. So I want to show you this video. Just, turn your microphone on if your sound isn't working, but it should work. So let's see.
This video will provide helpful information about your child's language development. It is part of a series of videos that address the 6 key areas of a child's growth and development. When you think about preparing your child for kindergarten, it is important to be aware of all areas of your child's development: physical, emotional, language, and thinking. As you play with your child, remember, readiness for school is developing a child's willing attitude and positive attitude of learning new things, not just gaining knowledge. As you work to help your child learn the skills and gain the experiences needed to succeed in school and beyond, let them choose the books you read to them. Let them learn the colors and counting while in the grocery store. Readiness for school is not knowledge, but developing in a child a willing attitude and positive view of learning. This area has 3 categories. Let's consider ways we need to think about language development. The first category is learning to communicate. Young children use listening and talking to gain new information from and about their surroundings. As preschoolers engage in play, they learn to ask questions, communicate ideas and emotions, and begin to understand people, places, and events. The second category is foundations for reading. Reading is much more than sounding out words. Reading is the result of many small skills that build one upon the other. Actually, early reading skills begin with ongoing interaction that involve two-way talk and eye contact that are part of the daily routine. Preschoolers love to hear and tell stories. Reading aloud to your children and discussing the books will help the children to begin to understand the language and organization of stories. The third category of language development is the foundations for writing. Children begin to write using drawing, scribbles, and symbols to tell a story or describe an event. These scribbles and pictures have meaning for your child, even if they are unrecognizable to you. As your child develops, they will use more and more actual letters, and by the end of kindergarten, they will work on basic punctuation and English grammar.
So these videos were developed with a partnership with the South Carolina Education Oversight Committee. And it's just an easy family-friendly way for parents to understand what that learning domain is, in this case, the literacy domain. So we know it has these 3 categories that you can see on our screen. And after they watch the video, we're going to really explore the core standards in a progression. So it would be impossible to go through each standard and progression. So we've really been intentional at looking at which standards we want to pull out. So for the literacy one, alphabet, that's an easy one to pull out. And we look at the progression where students would be, we want them to be around age 3. And again, this is a typical student. And so we're going to be really intentional about sharing that with families. This is typical. If your child is not here, that is okay. Every child progresses at a different way or a different rate. Age 3, age 4, and age 5. And we're showing examples of activities that children may be doing at this time on each one. We're kind of talking about that. After we get into that exploration of the core standard, we're going to pass out our handout that every family will get to take home with them. And I don't have the literacy handout on the screen. I have the social emotional development handout on the screen. But each handout has about 10 different tips for ways to practice that learning domain at home. Then we're going to let families participate in a hands-on learning engagement activity with their child. So for the ABCs of Literacy activity or ABCs of Literacy session, families get to create their own alphabet books with their child. So they've got alphabet stickers, and the children can write and draw or cut out pictures in magazine to make an alphabet book. Then they get to take it home and read it at home. And while the families are working on that activity together, the learning engagement coach is moving throughout the room and connecting with families one-on-one. So that was our kindergarten readiness family engagement session snapshot. Now we're going to talk about the foundational literacy sessions. These sessions are for families with school-age children. They're focused on foundational reading skills, and they're aligned to the South Carolina College and Career Ready standards, specifically the literacy one. These sessions are based on a research guide for kindergarten teachers and supporting family involvement in foundational reading skills. This is a very long title, but this guide was developed by RAL Southeast or RAIL Southeast, so we often refer to it as the RAIL. The guide has 4 research-based recommendations to improve foundational reading skills. While these recommendations build on one another, they can be shared as a 4-part series or highlighted independently. Each recommendation includes how-to steps that provide examples for implementing recommendations with young children. The recommendations and how-to steps are outlined here in the chart shown. All of our literacy sessions with families are centered around one of these recommendations. The information is shared with families so they are aware that the work is research-based, but a way more parent-friendly version is provided in our learning engagement brochure, which is given out during each session. So the foundational literacy sessions, there are 8 different types. Last year we had 4, and we've really expanded into 8 this year. Each focuses on a different foundational literacy skill is outlined in the guide. So each session is designed to be hands-on and engaging, and families will leave with a literacy activity they can do at home using minimal supplies. More importantly, they leave with the literacy knowledge needed to help their child get ready for kindergarten. So we like to think of our sessions as professional development for families, as we follow a similar framework to what you might use for teachers. Again, these sessions are held regionally in libraries or public spaces, but they're also held at a district and school level, and they can be face-to-face or virtual to fit the needs of the community. So let's take a look at a snapshot of a foundational literacy session. This one is letter sounds are everywhere that I'm going to be using as an example. So we're going to introduce the session and our goal, which would be to support children's literacy skills at home. And then we're going to look at the recommendation. The recommendation from the RAIL being used in this session is to develop an awareness of segments of sound and speech and how they link to letters. So after we kind of explain that recommendation and deep dive into it for families, we're going to watch a video of a parent and a child in action doing a strategy to practice that session or practice that skill. So let's watch just a quick example of what these videos look like.
So you know how words are made up of individual sounds that we hear?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to play a game, and we're going to listen for the individual sounds and words. We write with a pen, okay? What's the first sound you hear in pen? What's the last sound you hear in pen? Okay, here's a tough one. What's the middle sound you hear in pen? Very good. And if you weren't sure of it, you could say each sound. Let's say each sound you hear in the word. Good. Nice. Okay, we drink water out of a cup. What's the first sound you hear in cup? What's the last sound you hear in cup? What's the middle sound you hear in cup? Very good. All right, here's a tough one. Say the word book.
Book.
Okay. Can you say each sound you heard in the word book? Nice. What's the first sound you heard in the word book? What's the last sound you hear in the word book? What's the middle sound you hear in the word book?
Oh.
Good. All right, last one. You ready? When we go outside, we wear a coat when it's cold outside. Say coat.
Coat.
What's the first sound in coat?
C.
That's the letter. That's exactly right. So if you're spelling it, that's the letter that you would write. But what do you hear when you're just listening to the sounds of the word? What do you hear the first sound, coat? Good. What's the last sound you hear in coat? And what's the middle sound you hear in coat?
O.
That was a tough one. Good job.
So we use these videos to enable families to see how they could easily do these activities at home. And we want to combat the old school way of thinking that reading is a quiet activity instead of a conversational and bonding time with the child. And so for this reason, we spend time in each of these sessions modeling how to read with your child instead of reading at your child. And we focus on expression, fluency, questioning, and academic vocabulary. So you can see down here, we talk about different books that you could connect this learning to. So after we kind of talk about how to read with your child, we share a learning activity with families, and the families get to take this learning activity home. It's provided with detailed instructions, materials, and modifications if necessary for completing it at home. You can also see we have the YouTube video link that they may have seen during that session. So for this one, this is just using index cards and sitting down with your child and practicing that at home, just like we saw in the video. In addition to all of our family engagement sessions, we also offer a quarterly newsletter. These are just screenshots of our most recent newsletter. You can see that we really focused on alphabet letters in this. We have activities that families can participate in at home. We have seasonal book recommendations, digital read alouds, the profile of a ready kindergartner, as mentioned before, and then a tech tool that families can use. During all of our family engagement sessions, we collect families' emails, and we just send this out quarterly. We don't want to flood people's inboxes, but we do want to send out resources as needed. And so if you're interested in signing up for this quarterly newsletter, you can submit that at the end when we give our interest form for you. So in addition to schools, districts, community centers, and libraries being able to request individual sessions, learning engagement coaches host 4 regional workshops throughout the school year. So we're hosting our workshops in the fall this year, and then this spring, we create a handout to go in the SCDE memo each season with all of our listed regional sessions. So I have on the screen the regional sessions for the Upstate, Savannah River, and Midlands regions. Some of these have already occurred, obviously, but we still have upcoming ones. So if you want to take a quick picture with your phone, I would recommend this. These are open to any and all families that would like to attend these sessions. And I'm going to go to region 4 and 5 in just a second. I just want to give you one more chance to take a picture for these so that you can attend. These regional sessions are really special because during these sessions, we do give away free books for families to take home. This is region 4 and 5. These are focusing more on the early learning standards sessions. Take a picture. If this is your region and you're interested in attending, we will be giving out books at these sessions. Okay, so I'm kind of wrapping up here. We will have plenty of time for questions, but these are our community partners that support our work, and it's really worth mentioning because they're all extremely valuable resources. Palmetto Pre-K is a one-stop shop for funding free educational preschool programs in South Carolina, including locating preschool programs that are near you, as well as information about how to apply. So if you have families wanting early childhood programs for their children, I would direct them to Palmetto Pre-K. First Five is a website that provides support for families birth through 5, and it's part of that birth through 5 plan that we talked about earlier. But it helps connect families with South Carolina public services for young children. So health services, educational services. And then the Early Childhood Advisory Council strives to ensure that children reach their highest potential. It's a collaborative group of early childhood leaders working together to support families and helping young children thrive. And now our form that I have been referencing throughout this presentation. If anything in this presentation really sounded interesting to you, sounded like something that your organization might want to participate in, please either scan this QR code or type in the link tinyurl.com/LEC interest, or you can click the link that is in the chat box. And you can submit these forms. Just leave your contact information, what you're interested in, and the correct learning engagement coach will reach out to you via email and start working with you to see how we can support your area. So that is all I have. I see somebody in the chat saying that their district is participating in this. I love to hear it. We have lots of districts participating in it. LEC has sent out communication over the summer about this, but sometimes it doesn't go to the right people. So we want to make sure that we're getting the word out to everybody. So we are free of charge for you to support you. I'm seeing where can I find the upcoming events? I would like to share it with my network. Let me put a PDF so that you can share it. I'm just going to need to find that really fast. Did I miss any other questions?
No, those are the only ones that have come in.
Wonderful.
You did get a round of applause earlier from Melissa Sanders, who said the 10 practical, easy to do tip sheet is a favorite of hers. I think you had mentioned that earlier in your presentation. So great resources.
Thank you so much. Yes, we want to make sure everything is very easy and accessible for all families. I'm still looking for that PDF. I had all of these up, but you know, my computer decided to lose it on me. So.
And in case anyone is interested in the profile of a ready kindergartner, I had shared that earlier in the chat. I'm going to reshare that again. And as Josephine mentioned, that's available to you in English and in Spanish. So feel free to take a look at that as well.
All right, I've found this document, so I'm about to drop it in the chat. So the LEC fall session flyer has all of the regional scheduled dates. If you are interested in scheduling an upcoming event, just make sure that you fill out the form and we will get right to you. Oops, I sent it to the wrong person. All right, you should be able to see the fall session flyer now.
And we do have several more minutes. If anyone has any questions, we'd love to take those before our time wraps up together.
I do have a question. And Josephine, we could probably talk about this a little later. This is Brittany from Charleston.
Hi, Brittany.
Hello. But if we wanted to get both the kindergarten readiness and the family support sessions, like year long, to provide kind of incrementally, is there any schedule? Like, does one have to come behind the other or not necessarily?
Not necessarily. That would be, we would kind of talk about that one-on-one and figure out what's best for your district.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to receiving any interest from the form, and thank you so much for attending today.